On today's show, we have a pretty busy show for you. We're having two of our analysts on. First off, we're starting off with Gregory Molette, our NBA insider, and then we have Sean McEvoy, our X's and O's expert, breaking down the Super Bowl from the Eagles' point of view. Welcome back to the Fan Show. This is our weekend show. I am Alex Berger, and this is a really busy show today. So, without further ado, we have Sean McEvoy on to talk about the Super Bowl and the Eagles and what the Eagles have to do offensively to defeat the Patriots. And then at the beginning of the show, which we're about to get to right now, we have Gregory Molette, our NBA insider. So we're not starting off the show with fan advice. We're just going to jump right into it. And here is my conversation with Gregory. Now we want to welcome back to the Fan Show our fans' favorite fan, NBA insider, Mr. Gregory Molette. Gregory, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm good. Hanging in there. So, but yeah, I'm good.
Well, thank you for having me on again.
No problem. No problem. Someone has to wade through this NBA season, and I guess you've been the chosen one to do it.
I have no problem with that. What are we talking about today?
That's a good question. I saw on not part of my take, but I saw on First Take that you had Stephen A. Smith make a pretty good case for James Harden to be the MVP. Gregory, just from that might seem a little far-fetched because you might see the Rockets make it to the Western Conference, but I just don't see them winning a championship or getting to that point this season. So how do you feel about that type of bold statement by Stephen A. Smith?
It's like, I would say it's made like a popular statement. A lot of people would give him the MVP, but I necessarily wouldn't. I'm not really a James Harden fan. He's a great shooter, but that's just about all he is. He doesn't really play too much defense. Somebody like a Russell Westbrook, who's a lot more consistent and can give you triple-doubles, and not so much focus on just the offensive side. He's also effective on the defensive side as well. So I would give it to somebody that's a little bit more deserving and could possibly even carry a team a lot more further than James Harden.
Why don't you feel like he deserves that? Why wouldn't you give it to him particularly?
Well, I just feel like his focus is on the offensive side. Like that's his thing, which has been no problem. I mean, he's gotten this far and is successful doing that, but it is what MVP is supposed to have a great effect on offense, but also defense as well. Like a LeBron, a Kobe, Shaquille O'Neal, or Kevin Durant. Those type of players are effective on both sides almost equally.
Now, with breaking news that happened this week, because this has been an interesting week in the NBA, you had Kevin Love break his hand, and that's going to put him out for the rest of the season, I'm assuming, because that seemed pretty serious. So with that injury that happened to Kevin Love, and he's one of those key guys in the on that Cleveland team, is this going to change anything for Cleveland long term, especially when they get in the playoffs. Is this going to help my argument that I made last time we talked about the Celtics? Is that going to help that argument in the East?
It'll help it. Maybe I would give it a little one-sided now, but he's not out. I don't think he's out for the season. I think it's like 6 to 8 weeks, which may be for like the rest of the regular season. But when the playoffs come, I think he'll be back, of course, for the playoffs. But I don't think it'll have that much impact because, of course, the Cavs will go into the first round, second round. It depends on who they play in the second round. But they'll go deep into the playoffs where he'll be able to come back, recover from that injury, and may play a little bit in the first and second round. But if they do make it to the conference finals, he might play a little bit more of a more time in that game than he maybe would if he were just playing like a regular season game.
Now, because of the injury, if there's a scenario where he does come back and he can play in the playoffs, I'm assuming he's not going to be 100%.
Oh, no, he's definitely not going to be 100%. But, you know, how the Cavs do, they will always make that last-minute trade or deal at the last minute that completely changes their team. So you never know.
How would they use a guy like that has an injury like that, who is such a key part of their team?
Well, even though his offensive side may be effective, the great thing about Kevin Love is he also plays great defense as well, and he's a great rebounder. Right now he's averaging, like, I think it's 9.6 rebounds per night. So if he's not offensively effective, he can get those rebounds. So they are able to, you know, make that win or make that bold statement win in the playoff game.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see him. Your hands are going to be affected trying to swat at the ball than it is trying to follow through with a shoot.
Right.
Especially at the three-point line. Now, the other big news that happened is you have Blake Griffin. Now, Blake to me seems like a guy that you'd want to get a beer with. He seems like really cool.
He is.
And
yeah, I really like Blake.
And it just seems like it was just a shocker to me that the Clippers traded him to Detroit. Do you think that he is going to be a good fit up in Detroit, and do you think he could long-term be an answer up there?
I think he'll be most definitely a franchise changer. I mean, they have Drummond there, so that's a good 1-2 punch. And also, I forgot that point guard's name. I think it's Holiday. I got his first name. But I feel like that they're going to make some noise in the East down the line, but not at the moment. But I would say give them a good 2 more years, or they'll add one more player, and they'll be very, very effective in the East. But I really do like Blake. I'm glad he's out of Los Angeles from the Clippers and Doc Rivers, and now he'd be able to play a better system and not that lob BS that never does anything. I never really understood that anyway, but they made some noise in Clipper Nation, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And right now, there's just been a lot of, because I'm on ESPN.com right now, looking at the NBA headlines, and I know not Bleacher Report, Barstool put up something on Twitter that I thought was just crazy, and ESPN's given it some digital status on their website. The possibility
I know what you're about to say.
In a Warrior. Do you think that'll ever happen? Because if that does, because that would just be a super team, and to me, I would just be out. I wouldn't have any interest in the NCAA anymore if that happened.
That is just so ridiculous. I don't know who came up with that story, but they just kept it. I mean, of course he's going to listen he's gonna LeBron's gonna listen to anybody that wants to sit down with him. So I personally don't think that he's gonna even give it a second thought to go to the Warriors. I mean, he knows what happened back, and I think it was 2007 when he went to Miami. Like, he knows what's gonna happen if he does that. Especially that move, that would be ridiculous. I think even Stephen A. said, if you do that, you will tarnish your legacy forever. Like, that's not even like a smart decision. I mean, money-wise, it would be, but not for your legacy and what you want people to remember you for.
Right, and it'll just, everyone will question whether you were the real deal or not, whether you were better than Michael Jordan, because that's pretty much what this guy is battling right now, because he's one of those generational players that you only see in a generation like Michael was. So, yeah, you're right about that. That will tarnish his reputation, his legacy. So, but do you think the NBA would just sit back and allow that to happen?
I was thinking about that earlier. I think they would, money-wise, and just having everybody talk about the Warriors 24/7, and that means more money for the NBA. But I don't think like fans would really appreciate it, especially fans outside of Golden State, like from especially the East Coast, Cavs. The Cavs fans definitely would. I wouldn't even appreciate watching any Warrior games. Like, what's the point?
Yeah. And I just want to ask you, kind of turn the tables a little bit more to the East. True or false statement with what's happened recently in the Bulls organization? The Bulls said, hey, at the beginning of the year, we don't really want to be great. We want to be decent. But with the recent trades they made, they're making the statement, hey, we don't really want to be decent anymore. We just want to be terrible.
So they can get a lottery pick. That's just, I mean, I can understand why they would do that, but, I mean, what more could you do? I mean, you could play and try to win, and then you get, number 7, 8, and then you get a okay player rather than just blowing your whole year and going up in the lottery picks and being maybe 2, 3, even 1, and get a great rookie instead of just a good rookie. I mean, I understand why teams do that, but it is what it is, I guess.
So is this time of the year, like the year we're on, this time of the year, is this where GMs realize, okay, this team isn't going to do anything, and we're not built for the playoffs, so let's just get rid of a couple of pieces so we can get those draft picks, so we can start this rebuilding process?
Yeah, you have teams that I think the Clippers are getting ready to do that with shipping off Blake, and also having DeAndre Jordan in the news every other week. I think they're in the rebuilding stage, and a lot of people are saying they have to get rid of Doc Rivers. I think even Matt Barnes had put up an Instagram post when Blake Griffin signed with Detroit. I think he was written either DeAndre, no, pack your bags, you next, or hurry up and get out. Doc Rivers is the problem. Like, yeah, they need a whole totally new rebuild, like new fresh start in LA, that other team in LA. That's what I call them.
The other team in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Did you see that hilarious thing, though, that Jamie Foxx did when he was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon? That he did the impression of Doc Rivers. I
did not see that. Oh, I wish I would have seen it.
You need to look that up. You need to go on YouTube after we're finished and go Jimmy Fallon
Doc Rivers. It's hilarious. And for you guys watching right now, do that right now if you're near a computer or something like that, because you'll get a good laugh out of it.
I'm gonna watch it on my phone right now.
Well, at least do it after the interview, Gregory. I appreciate it.
Oh.
But something I want to talk about just with the local team right now, the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks did something kind of weird, in my opinion. I still that when Dwight Howard was in the building on Wednesday night, they had a tribute video to Dwight Howard. Yeah, I get it. Atlanta, and then made his NBA career elsewhere, and he was here for a season, but it got pretty bad when the announcers, the TV announcers or the radio announcers, when he would take 3-point shots, they would say, "And why?" Like that's just bad. So, do you agree with the Atlanta Hawks organization putting out a video of Dwight Howard, even though he only played here a year? And granted, I get that the Hawks traded him out, but do you think that was necessary?
I don't think it was necessary, but you have to also remember that Dwight Howard is from the city of Atlanta, so I think that's more of a line why they did it, because he came here, he at least tried. Well, not really tried. he did what he was supposed to. He did what he was supposed to do, and went elsewhere. I mean, he's from the city of Atlanta. That's the best explanation I have for that video.
If we would have got him, let's just kind of run with the scenario. If we would have got him earlier instead of later, do you think that he would have made a big impact in Atlanta when he was in his prime playing for the Orlando Magic? If we would have got that Dwight Howard, do you think things would have been a little bit different?
I don't think so, because, again, the Warriors they run the world right now, so I don't think it would have made any difference of how far he got, because, of course, he got to the finals, but that year he got swept. So I don't think it would have made a big difference, because you have the Warriors in the West. Back then you had the Lakers in the West, so I don't think it would have made a difference if he was with the Hawks at that time.
Speaking of current player with the Hawks, I just want to talk about Schroeder because right now he is one of the main guys in the franchise. And how do you feel that he is developing into, because he plays point guard, and even though it doesn't look like they're going to do anything this year, but is Dennis Schroeder still one of those guys that you want to root for, guys that you want to see can take the next steps in his development?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely enjoy watching Schroeder play. He's just kind of like a smaller market. You really don't hear too much talk about him, but I really like the way he plays. He plays with high energy. Like I mentioned, I think the last video, him and Bazemore, like both of them for Atlanta. It's just he has to, like down the stretch, he has to really take advantage of having that ball in his hand, because he's a very great dribbler. It's just they don't have that, go-to guy outside of him on the team at the moment.
Now, the way the schedule looks for the Hawks is they are going to play at the Celtics on Friday night, and they have to play up in Boston, so that's no easy task. But even is to keep this game competitive. Do you think that's going to say a lot for the Hawks?
Most definitely. If they can keep it competitive, that's something most definitely that they should be at least proud of or have some pride in, instead of just getting blown out.
Right. Yeah, it's just been a rough season for these Atlanta Hawks, and there's just
I mean, when my Lakers beat you, I mean, you just having a rough season.
Hey, yeah, that's all you can say, and they're just in a weird spot, but a lot of people right now are getting impatient with Travis Schlenk. So give me a reason to be patient with Travis Schlenk and what he's trying to do here with the Hawks organization.
Because he has a young team. I feel like when you know a franchise is trying or they're making an effort, I think that's when it's more so, okay, what needs to change. Right now, they're just like they're trying to figure it out. But you'll know when an organization is trying to figure something out and trying to put a real team together, like the Pistons now. The Pistons are trying to put a team together. And if it doesn't work after so long, that's when you need to start making those front office changes. But, I mean, if you don't have anybody to play, I mean, what are you going to do?
Right. Just still a rough road, just hanging there.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anyone in the college game that looks like they could be a game changer in that organization, if say right now the Hawks did get the number 1 draft lottery pick, and you were the GM, Gregory, who would you pick out of college?
I've heard of the point guard at UCLA. I think his name is Jalen Hands. I think that's his name. I think that is going to be the number 1 pick, or that's where people are going to be, who they're going to be looking at, is the UCLA point guard. Which Atlanta doesn't need a point guard right now, but that is the person I would keep my eye on. You never know. It could be somebody they could trade or something.
So you think that would be the right move for the Hawks organization to go, even though they still have a point guard in Schroeder?
I would say if you could have a trade, you to pick somebody you may not need, and then you'll go get somebody you need from like another team, like a superstar. That's how usually they could be. Those top picks can also be used too. You also have somebody like Gary Trent Jr. I think that's his name.
Uh-huh.
You also have him that you can go after. The center at Arizona. What is his name? I think his name is DeAndre Ayton. I cannot pronounce his last name. You also have him out there that you can also, for the Hawks, of course, they need some bigger guys as well. So they have nobody. But you can get somebody like that as a draft pick, a top 10 draft pick, and go get you somebody that is a superstar that could be a game changer right now.
Gotcha. So talking about Jalen Hands is
yes.
Okay. So if the Hawks took Jalen Hands, then we could be in some business. So and what was the other player that you were talking about from UCLA? I mean from Arizona.
His name was DeAndre Ayton.
Okay. So yeah, those seem like some solid. That seems like some solid guys that they could possibly get if they luck out. Now you said last time we talked that that they're going to win it in free agency if they're gonna have to make a big splash. So just tell me more about how that should go about.
Well, more so this summer. It depends on how the playoffs go, whose contract is running out. I think, of course, LeBron I think his contract is coming to an end, but of course I believe he's going to sign back with Cap. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. But for exactly the Hawks, it just depends on what kind of team that they would need. Like somebody like a DeAndre Jordan could be somewhere that they could start. You have a great point guard in Schroeder. You have somebody who can pick up the pace like Kent Bazemore. Adding DeAndre Jordan could be the step in the right direction, but you never know, especially with his free throws. They're horrible. But he's a great rebounder and a great shot blocker. I think Paul George, he has to decide what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to even have a second look at the Hawks. But Paul George is somebody to look out for this summer. Who else is somebody that you can look out for? I don't know how long Kyrie Irving signed his contract. I don't know if he signed a 1-year contract. But, of course, Kyrie would be somebody to look out for, even though I think he's going to stay. I think he's stuck there at the moment. I don't see why he would leave there. But, yeah, I think DeAndre Jordan is going to be that one golden ticket for somebody, especially an Eastern team, to pick up, because everybody is out west. So that's one of the great reasons I'm glad Blake Griffin did go to the Pistons. Put somebody out there besides Kyrie and LeBron.
But yeah, Gregory, you mentioned something to me at the beginning of our conversation about the All-Star break. So there's been some changes going on?
Yeah, because of some of the injuries that have happened from DeMarcus Cousins. He actually tore his Achilles a few games ago. And so he's, of course, was one of the starters for Team LeBron, and he's being replaced by Paul George. And it was one other injury as well. Oh, Kevin Love. Yes, Kevin Love with his hand injury. Of course, he's not going to be able to play in the All-Star game either, so he's being replaced by Andre Drummond from the Pistons. Mm-hmm. So those are the two new players who should have been in the NBA All-Star game anyway. But those are the two players, Paul George and Andre Drummond, who will have replaced two of Team LeBron's players for the All-Star game, which his team is going to run circles around Steph Curry's team. I don't know how that happened. I wish we would have got like some kind of video of them picking their teams, because I don't understand how LeBron got that good of a team. Like, that's crazy. He has everybody. Mm-hmm. Only player he doesn't have is Steph Curry and James Harden.
Right. Yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of All-Star games in general, but I do enjoy the festivities leading up to the game, seeing, like, with Major League Baseball, Home Run Derby. I thought the NFL did a cool thing with the skills test that they did, having the guys play dodgeball. That was fun. But, yeah, I just want to know with the NBA, because they do a lot of cool stuff the night before the NBA All-Star game. Are you into that? Do you look forward to seeing that?
Yeah, maybe they also have a few other games like the
The Kevin Hart game. I know what you're talking about.
No, not that one. I don't watch
Not
that one.
one.
I'm talking about the rookies versus I think it's the juniors, or I forgot what they call that game, but it's when the rookies and I think the rookies before them play together. That they need to just go away with that game. I don't watch that one. But
so
the
it's kind
skills
of like,
challenge,
the freshman football game where you have like
right?
freshman Georgia Tech versus freshman University of Georgia. So
right, it's like a whole bunch of players you never pay attention to. Right, it's not fun as the All-Star game. Even the skills challenge, you have that, and then the 3-point contest, and of course the slam dunk contest. Those are what more so people are looking to watch and pay attention to.
Gotcha, yeah. Still, I mean, those All-Star games seem like they're a fun thing to be a part of. And where's the All-Star game at this year?
In L.A.
So it's like if you go to the All-Star game, you're not only doing something right, but you're going to be in really good weather.
Oh, all day. It's just ridiculous how it's cold on the east side, and then it's 80 degrees in LA. That's just ridiculous. But it will be in the City of Angels.
Do you think Magic Johnson is going to show up and show out, and it's all going to be about Magic?
Oh, I don't think so. He may be like a
type thing.
I know. I think he'll maybe be like a judge for one of the skill challenges or the slam dunk contest, but he's not that type of person to just make everything about him.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Gregory, for coming on the show today. Always great trying to picking your mind about the NBA.
Well, when it gets to playoff, that's when I really start talking trash.
Well, we want to try to keep it neutral, but I get where you're coming from. Are you coming out with any new articles that you just kind of want to preview and kind of leave us wondering what kind of content you're producing next for fans' favorite fan?
I really want to get into some more like organic content, because I know with like news that gets to the point where it gets to be like, okay, but what else? Like, what else is going on? I want to get to more like organic content, like where will LeBron win any more championships, or who's going to stop the Warriors? Things like that are like think pieces that'll make you think about things and analyze players. So look out for those type of articles for me from Fans' Favorite Fan.
Well, there you go. That sounds really interesting, and I know you're going to get a lot of readers, especially come playoff time. But if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you? We're not giving out any numbers, but how can they reach you through social media?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Reporter Gregory, ReporterGregory. I'm on Facebook, just Gregory Molette. Pretty sure that'll come up. But I'm more so on Instagram and Twitter, just about every day, all day.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Gregory, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to thank Gregory for that great insider information. He's always great to talk about the NBA and the different things that are going on inside the NBA. Now we're about to transition over to some football talk with the NFL and the Super Bowl on Sunday. And we have Sean McEvoy, who's going to talk about what the Eagles have to do from an offensive perspective to get the win over the Patriots on Sunday. Sean is a private quarterback trainer, so it's always interesting to get his perspective on what's going on with the game. Joining the show today is a good friend of the show, and if you guys have listened to our football coverage in the past couple of months, his name's going to sound really familiar to you. He is our quarterback whisperer. We got Sean McEvoy on the program today, and Sean, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Alex, man. Fired up for Super Bowl Sunday, right, for the weekend.
So you're probably outside of, because like you have no allegiance to both of these teams, but you just love football. But so you're probably the minority in this category, because it doesn't seem like a lot of people are that excited about the Super Bowl. Have you seen that same kind of reaction that I have?
Well, whatever. It's especially in this area. Across the country, Patriots are a team that nobody likes unless you're a Patriots fan, right? And you're tired of winning.
With the Eagles.
Yeah, to some extent. I think you see it more here because, that's who knocked Atlanta out, right? That's who knocked, Minnesota out where the Super Bowl is, and there's all that kind of stuff. With teams just not wanting to see, NFC teams, I guess, do well in those certain NFC pockets, I guess. But, I'm from Philadelphia, right? So I told you, the other day, like all my friends and family are Eagles fans. And so I guess.
And you were the black sheep of the family.
Yeah, I am being a Bears fan, but my kids wore Eagles gear to school today and all that good stuff. So
there you go.
I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. Yeah. It's kind of with me. When I first saw the matchup, I really wasn't super excited about it. But now it's like, as the week has gone on, and this is Super Bowl week, and I love football, so it's like I'm starting to draw more of an interest than I guess one of my friends are right now. But yeah, I just want to have you on the show because you are our X's and O's expert, and you do a lot of quarterback training with a lot of high school quarterbacks here in the Atlanta area, and also you have some guys who are in college. But since you've had a lot of coaching experience, just tell me if you're the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, and because we had David on the show during the middle of the week, and he talked about the Patriots side. But I just want to get a perspective on the Eagles right now because they're the underdogs in this situation. You saw before that with last year, it seemed like you just outscore the Patriots. There's no way they're coming back. Well, the Falcons proved last year that there is that is possible. That the Patriots can come back and win a game like that, being down by so many points. So if you're the offensive coordinator, what's one thing with your game plan that you're going in there to try to attack this Patriots defense?
Well, that's it. I mean, I think you have to be aggressive, obviously. And if anything, what you got last year in the Super Bowl was a reminder, and you shouldn't have needed it, but you got a new reminder that you can't take your foot off the gas, right? No matter what, that offense on the other side of the field, with Josh McDaniels calling plays and Tom Brady and Gronk, and whether, obviously they have some injuries there and you don't have guys, some of the receivers, they've counted on in the past, but regardless of who's over there, there's a team that can score points and that can come back quickly, and you just can't count them out. So I think the one benefit that the Eagles team has going in this year and that Doug Peterson has as the play caller is he's not going to make the mistake that everyone saw Atlanta make last year. Does that make sense?
Right.
And in general, Doug Peterson's kind of had this reputation as being a very aggressive play caller. You saw in the conference, the NFC title game with the flea flicker and some of those kind of plays. And, he's that guy who's just very aggressive and is willing to take those chances. And I think that's kind of the game plan you need to go into when you're playing a team like the Patriots.
Now, seeing the game against Jacksonville, it seemed like Jacksonville had a pretty good strategy just from an offensive standpoint that they took a lot of shots in the flat, and then when they had a shot deep down the field, they took it. Do you think the Eagles are going to take that same type of mentality, same type of strategy going into this one?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you obviously got to take what the defense gives you, right? And with the Patriots defense, it's usually not a lot. Most of the time, you expect these games to be pretty low scoring and physical. But yeah, I think Philly has to come out and try to do what they've been doing all year, and like I said, just continue to be aggressive, you know, and any opportunities that they can find from, you know, getting the defense sucked in with the run and trying to go over the top with play action, and they have to take those kind of big chunk play chances, because that's it. I mean, they got to try to score points. You saw it. I believe that Jacksonville probably thought they had that game won when it was 21-3 or whatever it was 2 weeks ago, and very similarly, they got a little bit conservative. Now, partly Blake Bortles, you know, is limiting what he's able to give them offensively, but you open the door, and that's a team, and they've done it so many times with Brady at the helm, of being able to come back from whatever that score may be.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nick Foles is the quarterback for the Eagles, and he played a backup role majority of the time that he was there this past season. So if you're a coach and if you're an offensive coordinator, how do you handle, because obviously you're going in without your guy, but it's your backup, and I just want to know about that relationship, because I'm pretty sure it's not the same with the starter being in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's tough, and it's the reason why most times when your starter goes down due to injury, that's it. Like, there goes the season. You might as well pack it in and try and get him healthy for next year. And there's been, you know, a few examples, you know, in the last 20 years or so, and obviously Brady himself being one of them when he took over for Bledsoe, but it's very rare that backup can come in and still play at a high level. Now, the funny thing with Foles is I'm not sure there's a quarterback who's been more inconsistent over the last, 3 or 4 years. And even just this season, you know, he comes in when Wentz originally goes down, you know, against the Giants, and he throws 4 touchdown passes, and he's like, man, Nick Foles, here he's back. And then ended the season with 2 really poor performances. You know, it was really bad the following week against Oakland, and then in that meaningless game against the Cowboys, he was horrific. Like, to the point where people were truly talking about, do they need to start Nate Sudfeld going into the playoffs? You know, the third string, that's how bad Foles looked. But then sure enough, he gets the 2 weeks off, and he's played really well the last couple weeks in the playoffs, and I thought he was phenomenal against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. So, you know, you're just trying to keep him comfortable and give him opportunities to do what he does well without hopefully trying to put too much pressure on him.
Gotcha. What do you say to a guy throughout the game, and how do you? Because obviously, the way it's looking, both teams have the same record. That ESPN on ESPN.com, it's pretty much it's pretty much a pick'em, pretty much.
Yeah.
With this Super Bowl. So, what's some of the coaching things that you say or do to know that, hey, you're going to be in a fight and keep on fighting out there, because sometimes it's not going to look good.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, you're you know, the Eagles have really kind of hung on to this underdog status they've had through the playoffs, right? And that's kind of a good mindset, like that chip on the shoulder mindset, because you're not taking anything for granted. You know that they're the favorite. They're the team who was here last year, has been here, it seems like every year, right?
Right.
Tom Brady going for his 6th ring. They're kind of the Goliath in these terms. So sometimes that can work in your favor, because you have kind of a nothing to lose mentality. We be aggressive. We just keep taking our shots. if we get down 10 points, no problem. We kind of expected, things to happen that way. And you just have that mentality where nothing phases you. It's an uphill battle and you just keep chipping away. And then on the flip side, if some things work in their favor and they get a lead, like Atlanta did last year, or, like Jacksonville did in the playoffs, then now you have that understanding that, hey, we don't ever stop. We just keep going and going and going until that, the final whistle blows, because that's the only way we're going to get it done against this team. And sometimes that's a good thing. I think if you're the Eagles, you're looking at it like, okay, we've seen the blueprint for how to win this game, right? This is how Tampa Bay won their Super Bowl, with just a great defense. This is the way Chicago was hoping to make it work against the Colts. Like, we got Rex Grossman at the helm, but let's just rely on our defense, and they were almost able to pull that off. The way the Giants beat the Patriots both times was largely because of their defense, right? Not their offense.
Right.
No. If you're Philly, you're definitely, you feel like you have the better defense going into this game. And your offense, although inconsistent, can be very explosive, as you saw against Minnesota. But the blueprint's out there. It's like, let's play really good defense. Let's be great on special teams, not turn the ball over. Nick Foles is certainly capable of being a Super Bowl winning quarterback, like Trent Dilfer was, and, some other quarterbacks through the years, right? That you didn't have to rely on them to carry the team. They just make smart decisions and took advantage and made big plays when it was possible. That's the thing. Like I said, Nick Foles has played 4 games, and he had a 4-touchdown and a 3-touchdown game and looked great, and he hardly even completed 4 passes in another game. He has the NFL record, for 7 touchdown passes in a game back in 2013.
Right.
So he can be as explosive as anybody in those moments. I said it last time we talked about Super Bowls, like, he's kind of like that lightning in the bottle type of a player.
Right.
And all he needs to do is find a way to make it happen one more game.
Right.
So,
yeah.
it's interesting. It's a tough game to pick, right? It's why the money in Vegas has been going all over the place. And because you look on paper, it should be the Patriots the next favor, but man, like, the Eagles have probably had some of the better performances of the season. So when they put it together and it clicks, I don't think they can be beaten.
Mm-hmm. Do you think as a play caller, what your defense does, is that going to dictate what you're going to call on the field? If, say, Brady gets the ball in one possession and just goes down the field, boom, 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 touchdown, are you going to, the next series, going to try to respond quickly to that? Or if, say, the defense is getting sacks or getting 3 down and outs, now do you go to more of a ground game approach?
Yeah, I think either of those 2 strategies become very reactive coaching, right?
Okay.
And I don't know that that's the recipe for success either way. I think what you'd like to do, and it's hard because as coaches, you obviously need to respond to what's going on in the field, but you almost want to just run your offense separately, completely from what is happening on the other side of the ball in a way, right? Because if I'm the offensive play call, if I'm Doug Peterson in more of his OC hat and not just the head coach hat, I just want to be as effective as I can be. I want to score as many points as I can, right? That should be every offensive coordinator's plan. So he should be going in and saying, I want to score 35 points. And whether I score, 9 points a quarter, or I score 3 touchdowns in the first and I don't score again to the fourth, or I run the ball more because we have a big lead, it shouldn't matter how it plays out. I think the mentality of every drive, we're just attacking. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to try to be as explosive as we can because that's where we've had our most success. I think if you can keep that mentality, that's really the key. Now, it's easier said than done because, to your point, if you're behind 17, maybe you press more if you're down early, or now you got a 10-0 lead and you start, okay, let's run the ball, let's conserve clock. But I think what we've seen in years past, and like I said, there's no better example than just the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
Those are the strategies that seem to kind of nip you in the bud later on.
Right. Now, you talked about just calling your game to a standard, and I get that mindset, but hey, this is the only game on the schedule. There is no next week type mentality that it's pretty much all in or nothing. And I get that you want to play to a standard throughout the season, but I'm just wondering, because you know of this team's history, because you know that these guys are pretty much like, in recruiting, we want to call someone that has a lot of talent, that's just ruthless, a savage. Well, these guys are a bunch of savages, and the only way to defeat them is pretty much not necessarily stoop down to their game, but you have to be ruthless as well.
Yeah, I agree, but to that point, like what we were talking about with that idea of just playing your game, staying aggressive, to me, that's what the Patriots have always done. You know, that's definitely the McDaniels mindset and the Belichick mindset. And I think that's what's giving him the success they've had. So I think if the Eagles can kind of mirror that mentality, you know, you almost have to kind of act as if you're the team that's there all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Have that same mentality going in and try to even the playing field as best you can, right? You know, like you go on paper, and obviously at head coach, and I think Doug Peterson has done an amazing job, probably should be coach of the year, but Belichick gets the check mark for coaches, right? And they obviously get the check mark for quarterbacks and experience and all the intangibles of having a guy like Gronkowski and, you know, obviously with the way they use some of those undersized receivers and everything else. So there's a lot of things that the Patriots kind of have. They check all the boxes. Like I said, I think the Eagles maybe get the defensive, leaning right now. They might be a little stronger there. But, yeah, it's on paper, that there's a lot of things that should be working in the Patriots' favor. But, you kind of have to have a different mindset going in and just say, hey, listen, when we play, and it's nice to know that they don't have to look back further than 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. Right? A game they went in, they weren't favored even though they were at home. They were the underdog. People didn't think with a, backup quarterback they could beat this phenomenal Minnesota team who had a great defense, right? And all they did was play a complete game, and it was as one-sided as any game I saw this year. So you have to just take that mentality that, listen, we control what happens in this game on Sunday. And if the Eagles just play their brand of football and protect the football and continue to work with that confidence, I think it'll be really interesting.
So just stick with what got you here. Don't change it up.
Yeah.
Because I hear like teams that do that, that's how they get beat. Do you feel like that's a lot of truth to that?
It's exactly right. So Doug Peterson actually in his interview had that quote this week. He was asked about the Patriots, and his quote was, if I make this all about them, we're in trouble. Right? And that's exactly the point. Like, and this is a cliche sometimes. It's like, no one can beat us but us. It's like that kind of mentality. But it's the truth. It's like if you play the way you're capable of playing, obviously if you get to the Super Bowl, you're a great team. Then if you play your best game, you'll win, regardless of what the other team does to some extent, right? So I think the more you focus about, and this is what's cool about Super Bowl, you had these 2 weeks to prepare, right? So you got your game plan, you've watched all the film, you have your strategies going in. Of course, you'll make some adjustments along the way, but I think the team that just kind of sticks to what they need to do and executes is usually the team that comes out on top. what's going to be hard to overcome for the Eagles is that lack of experience. That
right.
these are all, with the exception of, guys like Chris Long and LeGarrette Blount, who happened to get Super Bowls with the Patriots, right? It was the exception of those guys. Like, these are a lot of Eagles guys that never been in this stage before.
Right.
Versus a New England team that was just there. So they know what it's like the week of Super Bowl and media day and how long that halftime is when you're in the locker room. And, these are going to be things that the Eagles players and their team and their coaches have to adjust to, where it's going to come a little bit more natural for New England. But if you can overcome those things, the game on the field, man, it really shapes up, I think, to be a really competitive game, really tight game, and really one that can go either way.
The crazy thing about all this, Sean, is because both these teams have played each other, this was at the beginning of the Patriots dynasty, and obviously the Patriots weren't the Patriots that they are now and what they're known for, but even though they had a couple of Super Bowl rings. But at the same time, on the Eagles side, I'm pretty sure a lot of kids don't really know too much about Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb. So I feel like that's kind of a crazy thing that you got going on there now.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a big story in the Philadelphia area. This is like the Remax for us, right? Because not only was it, I say us obviously for Eagles fans and Eagles faithful, but not only are you back to a Super Bowl now, finally for the first time since 2005, but you get to play the Patriots again, right? The team that you lost to the first time around. And if you remember, that was all the Spygate. There's the stories about the Patriots videotaping practices in Philadelphia, and it was like the first of like all these gate type things, right, with Belichick and the Patriots. They could kind of, so there's always been a lot of hate, a lot of people that feel like Patriots stole that first Super Bowl the same way, after the Flakegate, people kept thinking that, so it's interesting. There's, but yeah, that was kind of the heyday of the Eagles football with Andy Reid, and, they went to multiple NFC title games and couldn't get over the hump, and then finally did. McNabb and Terrell Owens was hurt. That McNabb's getting sick in the huddle in the fourth quarter, right? It was like really a great kind of storied game, and the Eagles just couldn't quite pull it off in the end.
Right.
But yeah, so this is kind of a chance for redemption. But you're right, like those teams couldn't be further apart. There's guys that were, barely even alive, let alone remember that game, so.
Right, because I'm pretty sure the kids that you coach don't know who Terrell Owens is or Donovan McNabb.
They may know who they are, but certainly never saw them play live, anything of that standpoint. But no, it's been a while for Philadelphia. I think that's what's obviously what goes into the underdog status, but I think that's what makes the game entertaining. I gotta imagine of people tuning in, a lot of people going to be pulling for Philadelphia. One, just because they want to see anybody but the Patriots. But, a lot of people like that, the idea of the team coming out of nowhere or somebody different. And it's been a long time since Philadelphia Eagles have been relevant, on that type of stage. So it'll be interesting.
I know. Just want to talk about going into the fourth quarter, just from a strategy standpoint. Obviously, you're going to probably be in a point where you're either trying to make up for lost time or you're trying to steal a victory. I just want to go to the scenario that say the Eagles are up, and
I like that scenario.
But yeah, say the Eagles are up and by like a couple of touchdowns. There's a little bit of a separation, but there's always the Tom Brady factor involved that whenever Tom Brady touches the ball, he's most likely going to score, especially if his team is down. And case in point, you saw that last year. So I just want to know, like, from a strategy standpoint, from sitting up in the booth as an offensive coordinator with headset on and the call sheet going, do you want to try to establish the run and just bleed the clock, or are you trying to do the opposite? You're trying to still score as many points as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely, going to be the big question, right? What do they end up doing? And I think from what we've seen from Peterson, he's showing ability, kind of a desire to want to stay aggressive in that mindset. And there's two schools of thought. It's like you said, if that guy's really dangerous on the other side, and Tom Brady obviously is, the next keep the ball out of his hands, right? So if we can just, limit his possessions, run the clock out, that's our best strategy. But on the flip side, if you score,
the Falcons tried to do that and couldn't get it done.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Is because, it's a great, in theory, it makes sense. Okay, if we just run the ball and keep getting first downs, we bleed the clock, we limit the amount of times they have to come back, and we win the game. Like, they just run out of time. But if you don't get the first downs and keep the ball, then not only do they get the ball, but you weren't even trying to score in reality, right? Like, you gave up your own opportunities to put more points on, thinking that it was going to help you, and you ended up not getting either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
I really like the mentality of, okay, so we're up 10 points with 8 minutes to go. If we can limit them to just 2 more possessions, we just need one stop and we win, right? But if you just score one more time, score another touchdown, then you win either way, right? Because now that you're up, 17 with 7 minutes to, whatever the number is. So, I guess it goes either way. I think if you build a 10-point lead throughout the course of the game, then there's something you're doing well on both sides of the ball, but certainly offensively you're scoring some points. I don't know why you would go away from something that's working, and that's always been that other side argument of people who get too conservative at the end of the game. Now, do you want your quarterback throwing risky throws into traffic, trying to thread a window that's not there, and now you're turning the ball over? Of course not. That's where you have to put some faith and confidence in your quarterback that you can call a pass play and be aggressive, and he's not going to make, the unforgivable mistake, right? And I think Nick Foles definitely is a quarterback that you could trust enough to put in that situation and feel like he's going to, understand what the situation calls for. Right. But I'm definitely of that side. If it's me, I want to stay aggressive. I'd rather outscore. It goes back to my
Keep
original.
On scoring.
It goes back to that original. I don't care what the other team's doing. If my goal, my mindset going into this game was we can score 35 points, then I want to score 35 points. And to some extent, if it's 28-10, I still want to score my 35. That was my plan. That was my, why change anything? Mm-hmm. That's an extreme example, but if you thought if that was your plan going in was to have that number on the board, and then to be, because it's 17 to 3 or something, to just say, okay, well, we're good, let's just run the ball now. I don't know why you would have changed your mindset.
Right.
To some extent. And too often, and like I said, it's just been a weird run where we've seen it in the last 2 college national championship games, and we obviously saw it in the Super Bowl to a much greater extent. You've seen too often where teams kind of take their foot off the gas too early. I mean, hell, you saw it in Jacksonville and New England in the AFC title game.
Right.
So you don't have, it's always hindsight being 20/20, and we should have stayed more aggressive. But how many times do you need to get the reminder before you start to listen?
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. It seems like with strategies, to me it's fun to talk about, and I know if you're a huge Philadelphia fan, you're really wondering how is this all going to shake out with Brady on the other side, but at the same time, I know execution's a huge part, because you can strategize all day, back in World War I. The Gallipoli campaign was an ingenious idea, but it didn't work out. So yeah, I'm assuming, Sean, that execution is the big key in all this.
Well, that always is, right? Because, game plan is game plan, and it's always going to be the team that executes it the best. And so much of that gets put on the shoulders of the quarterback to make those decisions and execute, in the pass game, obviously. But no, I thought you were just making an interesting point about you're right. It's Brady on the other side too. That's the thing that factors in. So it's like, if it's me, do I want to, give him 2 or 3 possessions to score 10 points, or do I want to try to push the lead to, 4 touchdowns, right? Like, because I don't know how any defensive coordinator, any team's like, oh, well, we're up 10. I don't care how much time's left. If it's Brady on the other side, because you see him do it, I want to I want to keep scoring. I want to make him score 3 or 4 times to win. I don't want to just try to hold on, thinking we can stop him from scoring twice. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So, I think that does factor in a little bit. But it's, but it's going to come down to, who executes. And, if either one of those teams has a, 7 to 10 point lead in the fourth quarter, why would you do anything different than what got you that 7 to 10 point lead for the first 3 quarters? I think that's always kind of been my mindset.
Right. Well, before we end this conversation, Sean, some big news happened on your front during the weekend. I know it's a little bit old news, but it seemed like Cordell Littlejohn found a new home for college. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we gave the tease last time we talked, but because things were in the works, but he hadn't officially announced yet. But gonna join up with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. and that new staff put together at FAU at Florida Atlantic University. So really, really excited for him. Yeah, I feel like that's a great opportunity. Like you said in a conversation that we had offline, that who in football doesn't know who Lane Kiffin is right now? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a program that has garnered national attention. Quite a turnaround in the last year. I think they went from 3-9 to 9-3, right? Obviously won their bowl game big. But like him or hate him, Lane Kiffin is one of the offensive geniuses in the game of football. He's always been that way. So if you're a quarterback, what better system, what better guy to go play for? You're going to have a lot of opportunities to be successful. I think Lane Kiffin's the kind of coach who's going to do everything he can to make his quarterback successful. And with a guy with the ability of Cordell, that could be dangerous. Right. You utilize his abilities the right way, and I have no doubt that Coach Weiss Jr. and Coach Kiffin will certainly do that. It could be interesting, And I mean, listen, they hit the ground running. They open up with Oklahoma next year. Oh wow! Right off the bat. But yeah, it's just it's an exciting program and one that they're going to be national. I think I saw today the preseason is way out, right? But they're projected preseason. They're a top 10 team next year. They're projecting. I think I saw today at number 9. So you're talking about a nationally ranked program at FAU, a non-Power 5 program, obviously, and that goes to the Lane Kiffin factor. So it'll be really exciting. I'm like I said, just fired up for Cordell. Such a great kid, such a dynamic football player at that position. And you were just hoping he was going to get a great opportunity in a great system, and I think he certainly found that. Nice. Well, I'm glad that has all worked out for Cordell. I just want to ask you this. Is he going to be able to compete for a starting job right away, or do you think it's going to just take a couple of years until we see him in a starting role down there? I think it'll be interesting. I think the plan is for him to compete right away. Okay. Now, obviously, he's not an early enrollee, right? So yeah, that kind of hurts you a little bit. The way this recruiting process came about late
with his offer there, so he kind of missed the early enrollee. But he'll get down there, in whenever in the early summer, and assuming he's allowed to start, being around team workouts and lifting all that stuff and learning the playbook. But no, there's definitely the game plan, and part of the recruiting pitch was, you come down here and with an opportunity to compete, right? So the quarterback that Driscoll, who was their quarterback last year, ended up, I guess you call it retiring. He decided not to play his fifth year. He had a fifth year of eligibility, decided not to come back and play for it. So there's no incumbent starter coming back into that program. They had the quarterback, who was featured on Last Chance U.
Okay.
DeAndre Johnson.
Okay.
But he had a really kind of scary medical. He had like blood clots in his arm last year, right before the season started. So I had to get some emergency surgery and didn't play all year. So I think his health status in general. So he's another really, has a chance to be a really good player, but hasn't played in a couple years. And so it should be interesting. It's pretty wide open there. And like I said, I think Cordell have an opportunity. Now the question factors are how quickly can he get in there and pick up the new offense and feel comfortable, calling those plays. Because like I said, when you open up with Georgia, there's no time to learn on the fly, right? So,
right.
But yeah, no, I think he certainly, his plan is to compete for that starting job from day one when he gets there. So we'll see.
Well, we wish him luck. Thanks, Sean, for being on the show today.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure.
By the way, too, where can we contact you at? We're not giving out any numbers here, but where on social media can we contact you if people have questions about the conversation that we just had?
Yeah, Twitter is always the one I throw out there because I love it. I'm active on it. It's fun for me. So if you're following around this weekend and watching the Super Bowl, you have a thought or a comment, or hopefully my Eagles predictions of Nick Foles playing well come true, then you can tweet at me. I'm at QB Coach McEvoy on Twitter.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for coming on. It's always great talking with you, Sean.
Absolutely.
Again, we just want to thank Gregory Molette and Sean McEvoy for coming on the show today, giving us a whole gambit of what's going on in the sports world right now. So appreciate those guys and their information that they want to share here on the Fan Show. And the Fan Show is on fansfavoritefan.com, so be sure to check out that website. Also, too, be sure if you like what you heard today, be sure to hit that like button, because in this world of new media, the like button goes a long way. So we definitely appreciate that. And the way that you can instantly interact with the show is in the comment section. So if you want to weigh in on the conversation, what we talked about with the NBA and the Super Bowl, that's the best way to do it. Also, too, you can hit me up on Twitter. I am Alexander71004, and that's my Twitter handle. So hit me up if you have any questions or comments or anything that you feel like that you want to that you want to have on the show. Also, too, if you send me a really cool tweet, I will read it on the show. So that's another way we want to try to interact with you guys. And we appreciate all the feedback. We appreciate all the listeners, all the views that we're getting on YouTube. You guys are awesome, and have an amazing day.